Hey everybody, welcome to Adventure World in Godot. So I was sitting here working on the map, and I was thinking to myself, you know what? Let's just put this on camera, and you guys can see the development of some of this stuff as I go. So right now I'm working on the water cave and the treasure chest that we're going to collect to get the coin or the treasure to buy the torch. So I made a little platform here, wooden platform, and I need to add some more stone details to this cave, but I made a little wooden platform here to put the treasure chest. So I've got a treasure chest in I think it's in, oh, here it is. There we go. So I've got a treasure chest. I've also got some plants I'd like to put in the water. So that's the goal of this video. So I tried just adding this guy in and then fixing that up, and it really was going downhill kind of quickly. So what I'd like to do is instead I'm going to make a new game object, and I think this is just really the preferred way of making objects in Godot, is to go ahead and make a new scene. And I need an area 2D, and within that I need a sprite, and I also need, to that same thing, I need a collision shape, and I'm going to first assign the sprite. So I'm just dragging that texture over. Collision shape, I'm adding a rectangle, and I'm resizing it to match the box roughly. Alright, so good deal. Saving. Oh, before I save, let me rename it. So this is going to be the treasure chest, and let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead and save that treasure chest, make sure it's in my objects folder. Good to go. Alright, now I can go ahead and move that over here now that I have that, and I want to put it, I've made a new node TD in my background called water cave. So let's go ahead and add that in. So if I come over here, I go up to my objects and I get my treasure chest, and since that's highlighted, if I drop that in, it should add it right there. So perfect. So that's a lot better. I've got, nice control over, instead of trying to build it out here and then convert it into a scene and then have it be set off from the origin and all kinds of weirdness, by building it here in the separate scene and then just dragging it in, I've found that that's just a lot less painful in the long run. Alright, so I've got a treasure chest there, and I want to make it where the player can pick it up, and I want to do a little pop-up icon just like I did for the doorway, but this one will be for him to collect it. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go into the treasure chest here. I'm going to add another one called the pop-up. Let's make it a node 2D, and I'm going to rename it to pop-up indicator. Hopefully I'm not misspelling that. Let's see, I need over here in the, I think it was other, yep, pop-up bubble. I forgot to mention this in my previous video, but I made this using Gravit Studio, or excuse me, Gravit, let's see, Gravit Designer. And the way I made it, I'll just kind of reproduce it super fast for you guys. I'm loading this up. The way I made this was I just made a new image, and I made it 100 by 100, and I've got the free version of Gravit, so you don't need to pay anything to do something this big. So I noticed another thing I learned is if you don't have any objects selected, the color over here is your background. So what I did is I set the alpha to 0. That gives me a transparent background. Then I went and added a rectangle up here in the shapes, did a rectangle, and I just made a rectangle roughly like that. And then I rounded the corners by doing this corner slider right there, so you can see those corners rounded. And then I added a border by clicking the plus sign right here, set it to 2 pixels, so there's the bulk of it. And then I wanted to add that little triangle down at the bottom, so what I did is I come up here to the path, or the pin, and you notice it snaps onto the bottom there, so that's excellent. And then you just hit enter to close your shape, and then you can come back in and modify it if you want. So that's kind of the benefit of doing these vector graphics, is they're still modifiable even after I could resize this even after I've gone and created it. So the other thing I wanted to do is I want to combine these two shapes. So if I click one and then shift click the other, I can group them, but what I really want to do is create compound. And so what that did is it made the line combine, and so now you can see I've got this object kind of joined together and my outline just goes around the outside. So anyways, this is how I created the chat bubble, and I did the white on the inside so that I'm not going to save this. And you do need to save it as a PNG. I believe Godot can work with SVG files, but what it really does is it just goes ahead and converts it to a PNG. So anyways, I converted it to a PNG that way. I could import it into Godot, and I used white so that I could do this down here with the modulate and make it nice dark gray. And if I was clever, I would go over and look at my door and see what I used for the modulate here. And what you can do is just copy this number right here, and then I go back to my treasure chest, go here, and paste that same number in there. And the reason I do that is that way they now match, so it won't look weird. And I want an icon for on top of that, so let's go into, let's see, items, and I can use one of these gold coins. I think would look pretty good. So let's drag that on top of there. Now see, this was the problem that I mentioned and why I created this pop-up indicator. You notice that this oops, I didn't want to do that. So this coin is much darker here, and the reason is it's getting the modulate applied from up here. So what I can do is drag this up here, and now it's behind it, right? Thankfully I can see a little bit there. So if I move it down below it, that's what I really wanted. So now it's nice and bright, and it's not being modulated by the other one. I'm holding down shift so that I maintain my aspect ratio. There we go. So may not know that if I hit up I get the coin, but hopefully they'll know that when they see these pop-ups that the up button is what does it. We could also use the arrow. Also consider doing like up equals and then the coin, like the action that you need to perform. So lots of options there. It's kind of up to you as the developer what to do. I think this looks cool. We do need a script, so let's go ahead and create a script. And yeah, I'll go ahead and create the file. Considered making these built-in just because I don't want to clutter my directory with them, but then you get this weird number random hash over here that's kind of confusing. Alright, so let's see. Pretty much going to copy the same as the door for a lot of stuff. I don't need the teleport target. I do need the players in door, but we're going to rename that. And I want the ready, and the up is going to be handled as well as those, but we're going to need to redo these. So let's go ahead and copy those. We'll paste all this in, and we'll say player in front. Yeah, that's fine. And then so I need to paste that there, paste that there, paste it there. Now these are not attached, so let me do that by going to this, go to my treasure chest, node signals, body entered, there we go, and then I go back, body exited, there we go. So these are connected, so what I'm just going to do is move the contents of that to there, the contents of this one to there, and just delete those two. So that says if the player, show the pop-up, player in front. Alright, so this is the only part we don't need, but I do need all this. That may change, but for now that'll work. So really this is the only part that needs to change, and we'll just do pass for now. And yeah, in a minute we'll work on adding the power up.